Don't you realize? Our parents, they want the best of stuff for us. It's our time.
I so much want your understanding. I want your respect.
Oh, come on. It can't be that bad. I'll do it with you.
Okay, potato chips, other salty snacks.
Good advice. That doctor obviously knows what he's talking about.
Butter, heavy cream, cheese.
Gone? Makes a lot of sense.
Alcoholic beverages.
Okay, that doctor's a quack.
I knew the food would be bad.
Sorry. You're unusually limber this morning.
I'll say.
And then we practiced high kicks. Watch. You!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Melt Off Podcast. I'm UrzaMaster.
And I'm Goonie Mama.
And we're excited today. It's our 6th episode. And like we said last time, we're going to leave this one as a surprise. And, well, honestly, we didn't come up with anything specific.
Don't tell them that. They don't need to know.
But we did talk about last time, my surgery is coming up on Monday next week, which is just a couple of days away now, and when this episode drops sometime tomorrow, it'll be a day closer. So we thought we would talk about, because it's really a journey for both of us, my surgery, so we will talk about our usual stuff and then get into both of our feelings about the surgery, what the surgery entails, recovery, and kind of looking forward to the future, and maybe some of the struggles of the last couple weeks of me being on this liquid diet. So I think usually we start off with our successes and our challenges for the week. Goonie Mama, what was your big challenge or success this week, or both?
Honestly, I would say the weekend. I went to a friend's house for a little adult sleepover away from the kids. It was my first night away from the kids. It was very nice, so thank you for taking care of the boys.
You're welcome.
While Linnea spent the night at my mom's house. But just being around food that I wouldn't normally eat in my noon diet was a little bit of a challenge, but I would say it was also a success because I definitely, still enjoyed all the food that was on the table, but I made sure that I did it in an appropriate amount.
So you're mindful
of the quantity that I was eating. I did have a healthy lunch because I knew I was going to indulge in the sweets and the snacks, salty snacks later, and also partake in the alcohol, which is high in calories and not really in the noon budget.
Very true.
But I still had fun. I didn't let it ruin my night. I didn't say to myself, you can't eat that. I did, and I enjoyed it, and I had a great time, and I can't wait to do it again. And so that was also a challenge and a success for me. So it was kind of both.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you had fun. I was, of course, at home with the kids, the boys anyway, and both of them decided to make the pooping weekend. I changed 8 diapers that were poopy over the course of the 2.5 days, and it's like it just didn't stop. They were just always pooping.
They take after you.
They do. They take after me, I guess. But they were a joy to be with, and Linnea definitely had fun in her Nana's house, and that was great. And it was great to see her when she got back. She missed Dada, and it's always nice. I like being missed, because usually I'm just like Dada. But my challenges for the week, where do I begin? This liquid diet, it's the 2nd week. I will say it's been easier this week than it was last week. The food cravings are definitely a lot less severe and a lot less frequent, but I certainly still have them, and I definitely notice now that just being on the liquid diet is kind of a mental health drag. Last week I think it was more physically drag. This week it's mental health. Like, I feel sort of remorseful and sad about not getting to enjoy the foods I love. I think I used to, get punchy if I missed a meal, because it's like, that's one opportunity to eat something I really love, because, how many times do you get to eat things you really love in life? Well, If you eat them all the time, not very long, to be frank. So it's taught me an appreciation, but it's also made me very mindful of cravings and advertising. Watching the Super Bowl was just brutal. All of those big New Yorker Pizza Hut ads. Like, I love that pizza. That's like, it was one of the things on my food bucket list that I'm like, God, if they bring that back, I want to have it. And sure enough, they announced they were bringing it back, but not until after my liquid diet started. And I was like, no. So, it's been a challenge just kind of getting used to that. The other thing is now I watch food videos all the time.
I know, and you keep sending them to me.
Well, I send you the ones that are like reasonably healthy that I know I can stomach later on after my recovery. A few months from now, it's like, okay, they're in your messages. We can go back and find these. Like I sent you a lasagna soup, which is actually pretty healthy.
I didn't even look at them.
Some of them look absolutely wonderful, but they're just on my Facebook Reels feed, and I love cooking. Cooking is very much a passion of mine, and that's where my success comes into play. Is on Valentine's Day, I worked up the courage to make you lunch.
That's very sweet.
Without telling you about it or planning it. I just got in the kitchen and did what I normally do when I cook, is I completely made something up, and as far as you told me, it came out delicious.
Sweet potatoes weren't quite cooked long enough, but they were still good.
Well, and that's the thing, is I like a crunchy sweet potato, or like something with a little bite. I don't like mush, and you like mush, and I think that's weird. I'm going to have to eat more mush, so I'm going to have to get used to it in a hurry,
Yeah.
but, it was good, and it smelled good, but I didn't, while I was cooking it, I didn't taste it, I didn't feel like I had to make it, or I had to, sneak any bites or anything, because I've been worried, if you did make that frozen pizza, would I be able to not sneak a slice, or, wake up in the middle of the night, dig it out of the garbage can, and eat it? I honestly don't know that I could resist. And that was kind of a scary moment for me, because it's like, you're dealing with basically an addiction. It's a food addiction in a way. And breaking of the sugar, breaking of the mouth pleasure, you're wrapped up in this. And I have to admit, that's part of the challenge too, is you see food you want to eat, and you can almost sort of imagine yourself experiencing that food. Whether it's pasta and kind of the mushy feeling in your mouth when you chew pasta, or so I'll count that as a success, that I was able to actually cook you something and didn't give in to temptation. So,
Yeah. Did you weigh in?
I did weigh in. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Sure, yeah. I would say the past week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks, I was really hovering under that 253, 254. This morning I weighed in at 251.6. So that felt really great. I know it's probably going to fluctuate back up tomorrow, but I'm gonna
Take the
bask in the glory right now.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. I have fluctuated within a pound or two the last few days, but the liquid diet has really melted off some pounds. The lowest I've seen in the past couple of days, catchphrase. The lowest I've seen in the last couple of days was 302.2. Today, when I weighed in, I was 303.2. So
Was that Starbucks?
it was probably the Starbucks, decaf, stripped down drink. But it was good, and I needed it for my mental health. So I'll take the water retention. I also noticed that I was kind of a little dehydrated yesterday and today, so I've been trying to pump extra water. I mixed in here, you can see it's a little cloudy, some liquid IV hydration boost. It's a tangerine flavor. It's really diluted because it's meant to be mixed in 16 ounces of water. This is 64. But it tastes good. It adds just a hint of flavor, and it helps me drink a little extra water, and it's good. It's good to boost your hydration like that. I feel really good about the 302.2 and the 303.2. And in between, I had a 304.6. But obviously,
only going to keep dropping.
it's going to keep dropping after the surgery. Once the bloat goes away again, it'll continue to drop. I am going to, probably not drop quite as fast at first because I'll be getting used to actually eating some foods again. They'll be pureed, blended, kind of baby food consistency at first, fresh out of the hospital. I'll still be on liquids for probably the first day or so, but they really try to get you working back into food, and then it's going to be trial and error. So we can kind of talk about that because we'll probably both have to learn how to cook for me, especially, in those first few days, when that's going to be kind of a struggle just to walk around the house to get exercise in. The elliptical's probably off the table for a little while after surgery, just physically speaking.
Probably like at least 6 weeks.
I don't know about 6 weeks, but at least a few. The full recovery is 4 to 6 from surgery. Stuff on the inside heals up, a little bit longer, but getting off those lifting restrictions and stuff like that will take a while. I don't want to be too aggressive with it, but I also don't want to not start right away because I want to rebuild that habit and try and get into that first 6 months is key. That's where you can lose the most weight, and if I don't want to say hit it hard because I can't do that right away, but if I really get into it, build the habit, make it a part of my life, make it part of my routine, as I have in the past here, that's really something that can benefit me long term and really bring me to my weight loss goal in a hurry. Not that this is necessarily about speed, it's about health, and I'm going to focus on, building healthy habits, being mindful. So, food, it's a great topic, and I got to admit, we've had 3 kids. I've tried baby food a few times, just to, show them how to eat it. And pouchies and stuff I actually enjoy. Applesauce, the mixed veggie berry. Probably eat pouchies for a while. This is probably about all I'll be able to eat.
I'll throw you a pouchie.
Right. For a little while, yeah. And then just, getting used to quarter cup of food per meal, half a cup of food per meal, and then probably topping out right around that cup, 3/4 cup. So, those of you who know me out there who might be watching or listening, and or those of you who can see me, you can probably assume eating a cup of food is a 5th or a 6th of my meal. Prior to this liquid diet, there were big meals that I used to thoroughly enjoy that I won't be able to do anymore. But I have to say I'm a little excited because one of my favorite things, which is also low calorie, high in protein, and healthy, is chili. And chili is very easy to puree and turn into a baby food consistency if you make it without chunks of meat. And eventually I can add those chunks of meat. So I very much plan on, as soon as my body can tolerate the acid of tomatoes, I very much plan on making a big bowl of chili, not a big bowl of chili because I can't eat all that,
Watch what you say.
a big crock pot full of chili that I can then eat every day until it goes bad. In my tiny amounts, because I could eat that at every single meal.
You're also going to have to kind of work around your cooking too, so maybe not
Exactly.
making such a big pot of chili like you normally would, but a smaller size. Otherwise it's going to go bad, and we don't want to waste food.
Right. Don't want to waste food.
It's going to be a learning curve, though.
Yeah, it's all going to take time, but it's not to say the one thing I think people, when they think gastric bypass is I'm never going to be able to eat real food again. I was actually really afraid of that when I first started getting into the program. Was am I going to be able to eat a slice of lasagna again? Lasagna is one of my favorite foods, and the truth is, you can. You just have to be mindful. Take small bites. Try and eat healthy lasagna that focuses on protein and vegetables ahead of carbs and fats and oils. And learning how to make a lasagna like that really isn't difficult. There's YouTube videos on it now that are a minute or less. So there's a really strong possibility that I'm going to rediscover a passion for cooking through this, which I'm already fairly passionate about to begin with, but I'm kind of excited. How do you feel about it, Cleaning Mama?
Totally thinking about food.
That's the truth, though. You start getting talking about it, it's like,
I was
oh.
thinking about chili and like dipping it with the saltine crackers, and so I totally did not hear your question.
That is acceptable. That's me when I'm like supposed to be paying attention to Linnea talking, and I'm watching somebody make ramen. I'm like, huh? I'm
Okay,
just
but
like,
what was
oh.
your question?
My question was, you know, how do you feel about like cooking and me cooking and rediscovering a passion for food after surgery?
I guess I'm excited. I'm excited to see the different things that you're going to want to make with healthier foods. I've always loved going to the farmer's market. I feel like maybe you're going to be more into that now.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I like the farmer's market too. It's just there's a lot of people, and I'm not a fan of crowds, if I'm being honest. But you know, one side effect of the surgery and the weight loss is, you know, it boosts your confidence. You suddenly become a more confident person. I mean, I'm not making that up. There's data to back that up. And, you know, maybe being more confident will make me more comfortable in crowds and want to do stuff like that. Not to mention the fact that that's a great opportunity to get some exercise in. Bringing the kids along in their little wagon and pushing that around the farmer's market for a couple hours, walking around the river downtown here, feeding the ducks, you know, not feeding them bread, which apparently is not okay, even though I did it as a kid and I never saw a duck explode. But, you know, obviously we feed the ducks appropriate food. I don't want to make any duck fans out there angry. I want to make some duck. I really want to cook some duck. Duck is a very nice fowl to cook. And they're small, so you can't make a ton of duck. See, again, food.
Anyways.
I will say, okay, I think it needs to be brought up because folks who are watching this, who are considering bariatric on the program and just looking to get more information, I'm going to be 100% honest right now. On this liquid diet, more so than ever before on this whole program, you know, this pre-op diet, I have not thought about food more than now. And it does not take much for me to completely derail my train of thought because a commercial comes on TV, or somebody mentions something, or there's a smell in the house. Goody Mama made bacon again. This is like the third time in 2 weeks.
I don't want to waste
During
the
the day,
package. I'm the only one eating it.
I'm sitting there trying to work, and the whole house smells like this lovely bacon, maple, sugary, sweet, unctuous, just gorgeous, fatty tasting.
Let me tell you, they were very good.
And yeah, but the thing is, you're cooking it healthy. It's not all greasy and drippy. You make sure it dries off a little bit. You put it on top of a cucumber. Like,
there's just, bacon is never going to leave my life, and I'm going to eat it. And the reason I've been making it so much is because I opened a pack, and I don't make the whole pack. I'm only making 2 or 3 slices at a time. And today was just the last 2 I had to make them. And you know, it's not a horrible snack.
No, it's really not. You know, anything in moderation. Yeah, yeah, and you know, the thing is, I think that I'm struggling with a little bit is, you know, I'm worried that there's things I love that I'll never be able to eat again. Now I know certain foods like rice can be very challenging and may not be on the table for me, which is really tough. I've got to admit, I love rice, plain white rice, sushi, you know, Asian food in general with rice, or, you know, rice-based noodles. It's a passion of mine. It's a love of my life. I'm going to struggle with that. I'm going to be open and honest about it, and I'm sure in future episodes I'll talk about it. But it can trigger dumping, and I really want to avoid dumping syndrome.
What episode is this? Episode
6?
And I think every single episode,
It's
you have to mention
it's
dumping.
gonna keep coming up.
Nobody
for the
wants
rest
to
of
hear
my
about
life.
dumping.
Everybody wants to hear about dumping because you want to
Leave it in
avoid
the
it.
comments if you want to hear about dumping.
And if you don't leave it in the comment. I'm just kidding. Leave a comment with whatever you have to say. If you want to just troll us, that's fine too. But no, I'm not worried about like cake, sweets, you know, overly fatty foods. Like, honestly, I don't eat that much of it. I know it seems weird to think like a bigger dude who's going through bariatric is, you know, not going to miss sweets or fatty foods. It's like, I never really ate that much. My real problem was overeating, and not being mindful, and carbs. And I think carbs are just such a big staple of the American diet, or many diets, and we don't really need that many. We really, really don't. I mean, do you remember the food pyramid when we were kids?
Yeah.
Do you remember the recommendation on carbohydrates?
Wasn't it like one of the bottom ones?
The biggest piece of the food pyramid when we were kids was grains and basically carbs. And it said, I remember distinctly,
no wonder we're doing this podcast.
10 to 12 servings. 10 to 12 servings a day of carbs. Obviously, that food pyramid was paid for by food lobby. And, they've adjusted it. It's a little more responsible these days than maybe it used to be. But the truth is, they taught that same food pyramid to me all through grade school. K through 12, that's what I learned. And what did they diminish? Oils and fats. And sugars, but not sugars like candy. They didn't specify sugar. We're all dealing with the fallout of our childhoods and how we were raised, but, there's something to it. And I love carbs. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just limiting your carbs, learning how to live with carbohydrates in a more responsible and mindful way. So I'm actually looking forward to experimenting with replacing those carbs that would have been in my diet with something healthier, focusing more on the protein, more on the carbs from vegetables, like zucchini and squash, which are things I love. I mean, those are not things that ruin my day. Like, some people hate vegetables. I love vegetables. But before we have technical difficulties, now we have light difficulties. We did get some new lighting, you may notice. Anyhow. So I think we should talk about the actual surgery part, because we haven't really talked about the medical portion of this that will take place. So Sunday night I'll call and I'll get my specific arrival time, but I've been told more than likely I'm first on the docket, which means 7:30 a.m. I'm in the OR, which means 5:30 a.m. I need to get there. So I have to probably get up at 4:30 a.m. to wake up, shower, clean up, get dressed, grab my bags, put them in the van. You got to get up with me at some point there.
Thankfully, my mom is staying with us, so we don't have to wake up the kids for me to take you, thank you. Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to mother-in-law here. Thank you, Mom. One of the, I think, challenges of going to the OR so early is, well, maybe it's not a challenge. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. And I had this with my gallbladder, because that was also pretty early. I actually drove myself to that. And I gotta admit, I was so tired in the registration room that I really didn't get nervous at all. Until they started, palpitating my arm to find a vein for the IV.
That's the worst.
Well, and I get really anxious when they palpitate. I mean, kind of no matter what. It just, that part bugs me. The needle doesn't bug me. The blood coming in and out when I get blood drawn doesn't bother me. Getting a shot doesn't bother me anymore. It used to as a kid. But it's the feeling around my arm looking for a vein. Something about, it makes my arms T-Rex. It just gets, that's the only part. And I'm just, that's the one part I'm not looking forward to. Everything else is cool. They give you some, something to calm you down and get you prepped so you're not anxious for anesthesia. Usually everybody's really nice and friendly. A lot of people are already caffeinated for the day, so they're coming in chipper. The nurses are, I got to give a shout out to the nurses at Mayo and the technicians and the people who do the real work. Not to diminish the surgeons or the doctors, they do real work too, but these people are there for you before and after surgery. They help you pee, for crying out loud.
Do you have to get a catheter?
No cath. It's laparoscopic. I did not ask, but it's the same relative procedure as the gallbladder. They did not cath me for that. It's a little longer, but I have to stop drinking water 2 hours before the surgery, so more than likely going overnight and then evacuating before I leave, ostensibly. They might have me pee before the surgery, too. I doubt they would need it. Because the whole procedure is probably going to take an hour and a half, 2 hours, start to finish. So it's not like it's not like a C-section like you had, where a cath is necessary.
Well, that's because they numb you from the waist down. That's why the cath is necessary.
Well, and the nice thing about that is you don't feel it going in. You don't notice any of that. They actually do it once you're taken care of. But
that's a different podcast.
Right, exactly. We can talk about that in a future show. But as far as I know, I don't need that. So, I'm always a little nervous for anesthesia. There's risks involved with anesthesia. It's extremely rare to have, complications with the surgery or complications with the anesthesia. It's so safe these days. So don't let that deter you. Your doctors will let you know if you have any complicating factors you should be concerned about, and or anything overall you should be concerned about. But for me, honestly, I'm relatively healthy. I've had no issue with the anesthesia before, so it should be pretty routine. And my surgeon is very adept at laparoscopy, so I'm thinking this is going to be a really great scenario. But I have to admit, I'm a little nervous to be in the hospital for a couple of days. I'm a little nervous to be away from the kids and from you. I mean, you guys will be there, when you can on occasion. Off and on, basically, during visiting hours or whatever. And you are actually okay to stay with me, too, by the way. If you wanted to tag along for that first night or something. You don't have to, but...
Can I bring all the kids? Because that would be our only option.
Well, I'm just saying.
2 pack and plays and a little rollout for Linnea.
Yeah, they definitely aren't going to allow that.
No? Anybody want to watch 3 kids? Hit me up.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a nice thing when it's over. But surgery's kind of a scary thing. I mean, I'm not worried about it, but I think there's kind of that thought in the back of my mind, like, I hope everything goes well. How do you feel about it? I mean, it's not just me going through this process. You're right there with me.
I'm very nervous, but I try not to, tell you that, because I don't want to make you more nervous from me being nervous. I don't know, you've never had to, stay at the hospital before, so I think that's what I'm most nervous about. And then when you come home, your recovery is also what I'm nervous about, and being kind of like a single mom who works real hard, loves her children. But you know what I mean. I don't know. It's going to be different because you can't really help as much as you do. For all you listeners out there, we are very 50-50 when it comes to house. Okay.
50-50?
60-40?
60-40?
70-30?
Alright, that's probably closer.
When it comes to household and kids and everything, we're very much a team. So that's going to be probably one of the harder things for me to adjust.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be able to hold the baby if you're sitting down on the couch. But, that might be few and far between depending what kind of drugs you're on.
Right. Well, and picking that baby up out of the crib probably can't happen.
Right.
I can't probably bend over, and sometimes right now I know my stomach hits the edge of the crib, and not to mention, I don't think I mentioned this in the podcast before, but I actually have a hernia right behind my belly button where my incision was for the gallbladder surgery. Didn't know it was there until I was getting my pre-op workover done. They're like, "Oh, you have a little hernia here." I'm like, well, that's where my stomach hurts when I lay on it, or when the baby sits on it or kicks it. So that's fun. But I notice now when I bend over the crib, that used to really hurt when that area would rest on it, and I had to stoop to pick up itty bitty Rowan. Now we've got Soren, who's that size. And after surgery, there's just no way I'm going to be able to do that. Probably not for a while.
Yeah, so that'll be probably what I'm kind of most nervous about is just, I don't know, the way things are going to change as far as responsibilities and, you're going to be recovering, and you're a guy, so you're going to milk it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I do think that it hits a little harder because I'm not familiar with the pains and rigors of childbirth. Mm-hmm. Not that, all of ours have been C-sections. All of yours. Suddenly they're your kids.
Yeah,
no,
right.
They're our kids, but you know, I mean, it's still, you know, a traumatic experience that I'll never understand or appreciate fully. So,
Well, let me just tell you, I was picking up Rowan like day 5, so
yeah, probably shouldn't have been doing that.
I probably shouldn't have, but you know,
And that's
The
you know,
mom
that's the
instinct
thing.
kicks in.
I really do think that, you know, I'll probably be pushing that recovery a little bit. I don't know about day 5, but 6 or 7 or 8. You know, but I don't want to push it too far because I don't want to tear a staple and risk severe complications with that. And I definitely don't want to tear stitches and risk hernia because apparently I've been living with one. And by the way, that Weird Al song, I do feel bad when the hernia gets pushed on. But
not familiar.
well, you know, some of those listeners out there are like, yeah, living with a hernia, love that. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, overall, I will say that the staff at Mayo who prep you for the surgery, if you're going locally here in our region through Mayo Clinic, or whatever hospital system you're going through, hopefully they are treating you like I've been treated, and really not just being reassuring, but like understanding and comforting in the process. Like, yeah, this is a big deal. I know it's laparoscopy, but it's a big laparoscopy, and it takes time, and there is a lot of recovery. But here are the risks. They're not, you know, they are not sugarcoating the risks. They're saying there is a real risk with anesthesia of death. It happens. It's extremely rare, but it's there. They inform you of it. The likelihood of that happening, super, super low, especially if you've been through anesthesia before. And they'll be honest with you, too, if you have some complicating factor that could affect that. You know, tearing the seal on your stomach afterwards and having, like, stomach juices flow into your abdomen, super dangerous. So you do have to be cautious. But the likelihood of that happening, relatively low if you're following the program, if you're following your doctor's directions. And that's why on this podcast we always say, work with your physicians. You know, they know more than you. I'm sorry. You know, you can rub your crystals all you want, but they know more than you about your body and how to be healthy. So work with them, help them get you to your understanding that you need, and, you know, they care. You know, they're not just, like, this is nobody's, like, breadwinner. You know, this is, you know, real medical science that is helping improve lives. For me, this is life-changing. Not just life-extending, but life-changing. And not just the way I eat, but the way I live my life. You know, I'm going to be able to do things I haven't been able to do before. Work out without sore knees or ankles, you know, in time. Or play with my kids without, you know, being too big or worrying if I roll over, you know, too far near the baby, like my stomach might crush his leg. That's a real fear for me. You know, feeling like I can't do piggyback rides because, you know, or like horseback rides with them riding on my back because, you know, I'm going to drag my stomach on the ground and I can't hold them up because I don't have enough strength because I'm too heavy to hold myself up that long and walk around the house. That goes away. Like, I'm going to be able to do so much more with my kids while they're little and enjoy those years. Like, you know, I may not have qualified for the surgery a few years ago, but if I could have, I probably would have done it sooner because, honestly, and a lot of people who've had the surgery, particularly later in life, not that, you know, there's ever really a bad time. If you can do it and it's the right thing for you, it's the right time. But they usually say that, I wish I could have done this sooner. I wish I would have done this sooner. And then I would have had this quality of living I've never had before that's better in a lot of ways. And, you know, I could have enjoyed it, you know, in my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And, you know, honestly, with the track and the lifestyle I was on, 60s might be pushing it for me with chronic conditions. Now, 60s are very attainable, you know, after this. I mean, if I follow the program, follow the process, be mindful and respectful of my health, monitor my intake, work with my doctors, hit my appointments, keep up with my exercise and activity, that's all, like, well within my reach. And then living beyond and getting to that old age, like, you know, shoot, my grandma lived into her late 80s. My great-grandma lived into her, like, mid-90s, I think, or I think she was 96. when she passed, I have multiple people in my family tree, relatively close relatives, that lived to be over 100. So it's like, if I take care of myself and not just like the farm way, there's a real possibility, I might live to see my grandkids. I might live to see them grow.
Great grandkids.
Maybe. And to me, that's worth more than a big-ass bowl of spaghetti. And I love spaghetti. So, again, if you are considering the bariatric program, wherever you have your medical procedures done or have your doctor, please remember that this is not about achieving a body type. This is not about a number on a scale. This is about a lifestyle. This is about life extension, life improvement, quality of life beyond what you may be able to achieve because your body is prohibiting you from making the progress you want to see. Part of getting into a bariatric program is you've got to try everything first. Weight Watchers, Noom. We've been through the gamut of everything I've done. And I keep remembering things I've tried that didn't work every time somebody asks me about why I'm doing this. The Batman cabbage soup diet's been the one that I like to bring up because it was miserable. Although the soup was relatively tasty, but it's so important, I think, to focus on what truly matters. Because would I like to look great and have the body I've always wanted? For sure, that'd be wonderful. And if I get that as part of this, hooray! But that's not what I care about. I don't give a shit. Like, if I'm being totally frank, like, I would rather have quality years with my kids playing outside, running around the park, and not getting tired. Kids. Well, and, I got a wife, too. She's all right. And having those years with you and getting to enjoy our life together into, like, the golden year. Like, we still have a lot of really fun years ahead where we can do some amazing stuff.
And out of here.
Yeah, and that's something that, like, if I was unhealthy with my chronic conditions, you might have to be, like, my caretaker at 65 instead of my retired wife that now we get to go gallivant around the country or maybe the world.
That sounds nice.
It sounds amazing. And again, I don't know. It's not about the number on the scale for me. It's not about fitting into a certain size because society says I should. It's about being the best version of me, health-wise. And I want anybody considering this to remember that that's the important part. Because if you are in this for numbers, or if you're in this for appearances, you'll probably be challenged in ways you cannot comprehend. Because this is way bigger than that. It's not to say that that isn't something that could be a boon and part of the process, but, just know that you really have to consider this, very deeply. And I bring this up because my dad actually was talking to me about this, and, he found out basically through this podcast I was doing this. And I didn't, like, intentionally not tell people because, I wanted to, like, promote a podcast or something. It was a private thing for me that I wanted to know that I was sure before I told anybody, or before I told too many people. I told a few people early on.
Didn't want the outside influence.
I really didn't, because a lot of people don't get it. I mean, especially if they've never had to consider it, it's hard to understand. It's like, well, geez, can't you just, hit the gym and maybe just watch what you eat? It's like, if it were a matter of willpower, everybody would be in great shape and in perfect health.
We wouldn't be an obese society.
Exactly. It's
easy.
just not like that. And for me, it's not that I haven't tried. It really isn't. But there have been roadblocks. And now that I have chronic conditions, it becomes about a lot more than not having a third helping of brats at 4th of July. It's so much bigger than that. And I have to be here for my kids and my wife.
Thank you for including me.
You're welcome. So, and the thing is, like, he truly didn't get it, but he talked to me about it, and he realized that, like, I gave him the laundry list of stuff I've tried, and walked them through the reasoning, the rigors of going through the program. It's intentionally made to be intimidating and tough, not to dissuade people, but to make sure that you are in this for the right reasons and that you can fully commit to it. And imagine having a liquid diet for 2 weeks. That's just like the end of the program. There's a lot that comes before it. You got to make a lot of changes and have a lot of doctors say, okay, you're good, you're doing the right things to even get to the liquid diet I'm on. So it's not a bad thing. Like, you should be proud if you've gotten as far as I have and that you're getting there, you're going to that surgery. You should be proud of your journey. I mean, and you know what? For some people, hopefully, like you, Goonie Mama, new may work. Just simply learning the psychology of eating and being mindful. And, you may find that Weight Watchers or another program works really great for you and you lose the weight, you feel great, you're healthy, you go to your doctor, you get your blood drawn, everything comes back fantastic, and you may achieve the same result without having to do this. Nothing wrong with that. That is awesome. I'm full support of whatever it takes. But understand that this is not the easy way out for the people that choose this. This is rigorous and difficult. It is life-changing, anatomy-altering, and brain chemistry affecting. Literally, now I may feel full when I eat, which is something I'm looking forward to.
That'd be a win.
So with that, that's kind of all I wanted to say about it today. I'm looking forward to the surgery. Of course, I'm a little nervous. You're way more nervous than I am, so I assure you we'll be fine.
Yeah, we might be taking next week off, depending on how UrzaMaster feels about sitting down here, but
Exactly.
that's kind of what I'm envisioning. We might be off next week.
So, episode 7 will eventually come. If it doesn't happen next week, certainly the week after, or potentially 2 weeks from now. But any closing thoughts, Goonie Mama? Anything you want to say to our fans? Or
Yeah, I have an update on those oats overnight. They are delicious. I have had three different flavors so far, and I have, I think I have like 12 more flavors to try or something crazy like that.
yeah,
My first one was Boston cream, delicious. Second one, fruity cereal, delicious, like Fruity Pebbles. The third one today was chocolate chip, which I wasn't really into until I was like halfway through, and just all the good stuff was at the bottom, so I just shook it every time I took a drink. It's a lot different than like a regular like protein shake. It's chunky. It's weird to drink chunks of oatmeal, but you get used to it. And I like the chia seeds are really good. I've been doing it with the unsweetened almond milk. People with the chocolatey flavors will do like unsweetened chocolate almond milk, which I might try for some of my chocolate ones I have.
interesting.
Just for a richer flavor, I guess. But yeah, they're really good, and I'm trying to save some of the flavors for you for when you can eat again, so you can at least taste them.
Yeah.
Because some of the flavors I got two of each, so I'm trying to go through those so that when you can eat again, even after your surgery, if you just take like one little taste to see if you like them
For sure.
if we order them again. So
Yeah.
far I'm really happy with them. I've had them for breakfast every day this week, and I've been still losing weight, so it's a good thing for me, I guess.
Absolutely. And they smell great. They look appetizing.
The mint chocolate chip for tomorrow.
The mint chocolate chip, was that the one you had me smell today?
Yeah, you didn't know what it was.
I didn't know what it was. I couldn't tell it was mint. I don't know, maybe my nose was a little stuffy or something, but to me it smelled like s'mores, so that's still not a bad
There's a s'mores
flavor.
flavor. It's a s'mores flavor.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that worked out. I look forward to it. Do they change the flavors every month, or is it the same 15 every time?
No, they change them. Like, you can pick, like, I didn't even pick some of the flavors that they offer, because I just picked ones that sounded good to me. But every month they release a new flavor. And,
cool.
I have a flavor that's, I think, strawberry banana smoothie or something like that. That's, like, their flavor in testing. So I got one of those to try, too, so.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's really cool. I look forward to hopefully trying it maybe in a couple weeks when I can stomach it. So, with that, thank you for joining us on the Melt Off podcast today. I am UrzaMaster.
And I'm Goonie Mama.
And we hope that you join us again to Melt Off. Have a great night.
Bye.